We're in our 27th night, mashallah. Just a few more days. And then, inshallah, we'll be better persons, human beings after this month, inshallah. We're going to begin this evening. We're going to have the Quran recitation. Sayyid Ali Rida is going to do the Arabic for us. And we're going to do Surah Yasin. And then Brother Hassan Bazi is here. Okay, he's going to do English as well for us, inshallah. So let's have a loud salawat ala Muhammad and ali Muhammad. Tafadhal, Sayyid.
السلام عليكم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطايرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون أأتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغن عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي
prophet, you are one of the messengers, on the straight path. It is a revelation sent down by Allah, the supreme in strength, most merciful, in order that you may warn a people whose forefathers did not receive the warning, and those who therefore remain unaware. Indeed, the word punishment of Allah is proved true against the greater part, or most of them. Still they do not believe. Verily, we have put clamps tightly around their necks, high up to their chins, so that their heads are forced up. And we have put a barrier in front of them and a barrier behind them. And also, we have covered them up in their disbelief, so that they cannot see. It is the same to them whether you warn them or you do not warn them. They will not believe. You can only warn such a person who follows the reminder, the warning and the put on, and fears Allah most gracious, unseen. Therefore give such a person good news of forgiveness and most kind reward. Surely we shall give life to the dead, and record what they send before judgment, and that which they leave behind in life. And we have taken record of all things in a book of evidence. And put forward to them and tell them, by way of the story with a warning, about the companions of the city which was destroyed, when the messengers of Allah have come to it. When we sent 2 messengers to them, they rejected them both, so we strengthened them with a third. They, the messengers, said, truly we have seen, we have been sent as messengers to you. The people said, you are only beings like ourselves, and Allah the most gracious sends nothing to be made known or disclosed. You do nothing but lie. They said, our Lord does know that we have been sent on a mission to you, and our duty is only to tell you the clear message. The people said about us, we see an evil sign from you. If you do not stop, we will surely stone you, and truly painful punishment will be given to you by us. They said, your evil signs are with yourselves, that you are warned. No, but you are people exceeding all limits. Then from a far part of the city came running a man, saying, O my people, obey the messengers of Allah. Obey those who do not ask any reward from you, and who have themselves received Allah's guidance. It is not reasonable for me if I did not serve Him who created me, and to whom you shall all be brought back. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. Fatiha.
MashaAllah, thank you for that beautiful recitation, Sayyid. Brother, let's have a salawat in their honor, please. Alhamdulillah, Muhammad. Just a couple quick points. On the cellular devices, please make sure they are turned on vibrate or off so we don't have any interruptions. We appreciate that. And another quick point, I don't know if everyone was here yesterday, but I mentioned that July 10th we're beginning Sunday program, 10 a.m. There's going to be tea, coffee, some snacks, maybe some sweets, za'atar manish, various things. So more incentives for you to show up, inshallah. And that's going to begin July 10th. And then we're going to have a lecture from our Molena as well after you feed yourselves, inshallah. So without further ado, we want to begin this evening. We're going to bring to the stage our Molena here at the ICA, who's been a great pleasure and honor to have so far the whole Ramadan. So let's, without further ado, bring Samat al-Sheikh, Dr. Ibrahim Kazabruni. Have a loud salawat ala Muhammad, please.
صلى على محمد وعلى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله نحمده ونشكره على ما هدانا ونشكره على آلائه. الصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وخاتم النبيين سيدنا محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. favors that He has given us. We also salute the most noble Prophet of Islam and his few progenies. Sisters and brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. قال الله العظيم في محكم كتابه أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أفمن أسس بنيانه على تقوى من الله ورضوان خير أم من أسس بنيانه على شفا جرف هار فانهار به في نار جهنم والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين. Is he who founds his building on God-wariness and the pursuit of Allah's pleasure better off, or he who founds his building on the brink of a collapsing bank, which collapses with him into the abyss, and Allah does not quiet the wrongdoers a lot. Last night, Mulana Mardini alluded to a point that was taqwa, part of it. And I also had the intention of wrapping up the verse 183, Surah Al-Baqarah, that clearly talked about four major categories within them. It was number one, the command was directed to the believers. So we briefly address who are these people on a personal and social level. And the gist of our conversation that night was that believers on a personal level have certain characteristics, and on the social level they do not forget their social responsibilities towards others. In attempt to explain some of the khutbah Sha'baniyah, it became clear exactly what we mean by fast. We said that the khutbah and the sermon of Sha'baniyah is explicit and reminds people not to be among those who purely benefit nothing more than thirst and hunger from the month of Ramadan. That we need to use the month for reorientation and redirection. But the main critical factor here, the historical claim that it was done to previous or obligated previous nations, is another time we spend discussing it. But issue of taqwa is critical, as the verse clearly wraps the whole thing up. That you should do this and then be mindful that previous peoples have done a similar kind of things to you, but ultimate goal is to attain taqwa. So what is this thing? On the one hand, taqwa reflects a unique mindset, or what we call the worldview, that Islam used to change or challenge the prevailing mindset that saw hierarchy in social structure resting on wealth, clan, blood, etc., etc. When we have this kind of hierarchy, and then we come, Quran or Ahadith come and says, no, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made taqwa as the only criteria. This implies or refers to a unique mindset, that material life should not be used as a framework to judge somebody as higher or lower. Surah Musa, the story of Musa and Harun. Prophet Musa والسلام, goes to face Harun, to face Pharaoh, and informs him that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm here as a messenger of God to you and Bani Israel. kind of response Pharaoh gives. Where are your gold and silvers? If you are so unique, you should have plenty of gold and silvers. See, that's a mindset. Pharaoh thinks that value in life rests on this kind of gold and silver. While the same kind of mindset we saw it in the Jahiliyyah in Islam when we were discussing about various negative traits. The Jahiliyyah, people of Jahiliyyah thought that value system, what distinguished one person from the other, was the amount of gold, wealth, clan, blood, etc. So when we see Quran comes and then says, rejects this kind of hierarchical, artificial hierarchical structure, and says, Inna akramakum indallah atqakum, what it does, it generates or creates a new framework by which we should choose people. Judge people. It's only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who judges. So taqwa on the one hand reflects what we call a unique worldview, and also it reflects a unique characteristics that people gain through certain exercises. It does not refer to a particular action. It's not that you do like prayer or fasting, similar to prayer or similar to fasting, you have to do something. It's the consequence of doing certain things. So, on the one hand, we see that Quran uses the word taqwa, or one of the root of it, over 251 times in various verses. And either as a noun or as a verb. And the Arabic root is either taqaya or taqawa, both of them, which means either protection or support. So taqwa is, depending on the context, could be either support or could be either or protection. From an Islamic moralistic point of view, a person possessing taqwa abandons all animalistic living and chooses to live a moral life, and that moral life centers on revelation, the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded these individuals. So, and various, if you look at books, articles on taqwa, alhamdulillah, there are now these days plenty of them. Taqwa is the state of hypervigilance against falling into sin in negligence. Unintentionally, even unintentionally, you fall into sin. It is the idea that the believer is always on guard and is perpetually alert of not committing any action that would earn displeasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a condition or a state of mind. So even if you are inadvertently put into a circumstance, a situation in which there is a possibility of sin, that inner protection, inner support comes out to hold you back. How many of you have read the story of Yusuf? If the moment that Zulaykha, the wife of Aziz, comes out and locks the door, what does he respond? Immediately, without thinking, قَالَ مَعَذَ اللَّهِ. I'm not going to do anything, no sins, because I rest the whole being on command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is called that protects you. So the term taqwa is often translated as piety and God-fearing, but a better equivalent word would be God consciousness. When you become conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that becomes habitual, God consciousness becomes habitual, any act, as soon as you want to speak, you think. You want to hear something, you think. You want to dress something in a particular manner, you think. You want to look at something, you think. It's all this, am I in this behavior, does it fit with that God consciousness? That's called taqwa. So if there is an element of fear occasionally people mention, it's not the fear of Allah, It's the fear of our own action and the consequence of our own shortcomings. Otherwise, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Allah's grace is not something that we should fear. So taqwa here, therefore, any such qualities of a person that would make him forgetful of Allah are detrimental to taqwa. And during this period, from beginning of the month up to now, we have addressed none. Khutbah Sha'baniyah clearly listed: watch your eyes, watch your ears, watch how you talk, what you listen, ghiba, tuhma, backbiting, etc., etc. These are detrimental. So we constantly become aware that we are being watched and we are being accountable. It's about this value system that we have to pay attention to. The verses in the Holy Quran, when we look at them, there are normally, although there are too many verses that the issue of taqwa is being addressed as the end game or some kind of character, but none of them clearly explain the benefit of it. Yes, as a member of, as a person whom once you follow certain conditions or certain practices, you become muttaqi and you gain taqwa. But it doesn't go into detail giving you description of exactly the benefit of taqwa. The place that we have to look for Najib. Amir al-Mu'mineen sallallahu alayhi wa exceeds in looking at the concept of taqwa, its benefit, its advantages, etc., etc. And now there are articles and booklets have been written in assessing various themes in Najib Balagh, and one of them is the concept of taqwa from Najib Balagh, from perspective of Najib Balagh. And you see how the authors have collected these comments of Amir al-Mu'mineen into various chapters. First of all, when we look at a few of these comments, ذمتي بما أقول رهينة وأنا به زعيم. That إن من صرحت له العبار عما بين يديه من المطلات حجزته التقوى عن تقحم الشبهة. Those of you who pay attention to what happened to the previous nations on earth before, by definition, you should understand, reach a stage that you will not repeat their mistakes in life. If you look at Najib Balagh and the khutbah, Amir al-Mu'mineen leaves an advice on a will for Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein, and if you read it, one point that he brings to the attention of his children says that this is a wasiyah or a will from a father that may not have lived 5,000 or 6,000 years, but has been wise enough to travel the past nation and assess their shortcomings. And what I'm going to remind you is not to make those mistakes that people before you have done. History, from Amir al-Mu'mineen's point of view, is a living reality that you should assess, learn from it, so that you will not repeat those mistakes in the past. I think Karl Marx was the one who said, history repeats itself twice, once as tragedy and once as farce. So if we don't learn from the past history, we're bound to repeat it. Whether it is on a political level, whether it is on an economic level, whether it is on a social level, on a personal level. I remember just an example. In 2002, when suddenly the case was made for going to war with Iraq, and the same kind of narrative was used in case Syria in 2011. People suddenly jumped and said, well, the United States is going to go into Iraq and liberate everything, and we will take over and have democracy and so on. What was wrong with this assessment? These people really did not understand, did not look at the past history of occupiers. No occupier, they should go past for the past 200, 300, 400 years. Whether it's the French, the German, the Italian, the British, or the Spanish, or anyone, or even the Russians. No occupier goes into a country for the love of the future and democracy of the people over there, if there is nothing else to benefit from it. Iraq was broken to pieces not because they wanted to give democracy or human right to Iraqi people, because there was an interest. And these Iraqis that only a year later came back to apologize did not read history. So the same thing applies when it comes to sin and shortcomings of society. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that there is a sunnah, there is a standard framework, call it a paradigm. If we don't learn a lesson from the past, we are bound to make those mistakes. So Amir al-Mu'mineen here says, be aware that sins are, and then after that, ala wa inna al-khataya. If you don't learn, it gives you an example. Be aware that sins are like unruly horses on whom the rider have been placed and the reins have been let loose so that they would jump with them here and there. So life, and by the way, there are similar metaphor being used in Quran. Ala bi dhikrillah tatma'innul qulub. If you want stability and tranquility in your life must be centered on Allah. Anything else brings turbulence. There is another verse that brings this metaphor of a ship in a turbulent sea that has no control, no anchor. If our life has no anchor, if Allah is not part of it, it's a turbulent life. It's going to go left, right. Sins, Amir al-Mu'mineen says, it's like being nafs ammar, which here is the one that controls. Amir al-Mu'mineen says that it's like riding a wild horse that has no rein to control. And you have no way of guiding it. It guides you around in any shape or direction it goes. So there is no clear direction and no clear stability. Be aware that piety is like a train by opposition, like trained horses on which the rider have been placed with the rein in their hand so that they would take the rider to the right direction. Since we have few younger generations, let me give you a few examples here that brings the concept of taqwa closer to their mind. How many of you have read Merlin and King Arthur in British mythology? Good. So as somebody that lived many years in England, and I learned my English over there, and the teacher would force us to read all these useless things, like American history here when you go to 5th and 6th grade. Has no value whatsoever in your life. So Merlin and King Arthur was one book that we constantly read. How many of you have read Aladdin? Good, another one. Sisters, from your side. How many of you have read, I'm sure you have yet more than one, Harry Potter? Oh yes, we have few of them. What these stories have in common is that the essence, that in this, as the story unpacks itself, various characters, wicked or good, they are trying as hard as possible, attempting to gain some kind of a power that creates a shield around these individuals, that the harm of the opposition will not come to them, correct? So whether the wizard creates this for the king, or Jafar does it for himself in a way with a flying carpet or something, or Harry Potter through the use of sorcery gains it for his team, what they are trying to do is to protect themselves against the opposition. Now try to use that idea and bring it close into nafs ammara, shaitan, and ourselves. Quran says, فَاتَّخِذُوهُ عَدُوًّا. Shaitan is your enemy. Treat shaitan like an enemy. So how do we go around protecting ourselves? Taqwa is that shield that we created in these mythologies for ourselves. Taqwa is the one that's supposed to protect us. On the one hand, Amir al-Mu'mineen says, protect the taqwa and let the taqwa protect you. How do we protect the taqwa? We don't go into places where there is a possibility of sin and mistake. Avoid them. You see, if taqwa is supposed to be this unique character, then we can organize two different types of lives. We can either want to avoid falling into sin or to being somehow tempted in one way or the other. We find some kind of cave and monastic life, we go and live in it. That's not the positive direction that Islam wants to do. In Islam, all these ahadith clearly indicate that you should live within the society and willingly stand and oppose the temptation and the challenges that you have, not run away from them. Your salvation, your growth, spirituality, and so on comes within the society. You become mature as you grow and you stand to it. By running away, what can you gain? Rumi has a story about this positive and the dynamic interpretation of taqwa and the passive interpretation of taqwa. He uses a metaphor of two brothers. He says, after the death of their father, the two brothers decided to part company. One of them decided to go to the mountain and find a cave and pray for the rest of his life. The other one decided to stay inside the city and work. After 20, 30 years, the brother who was in the mountain gained through prayer some kind of power that could mold the metal into shapes that he wanted. Now, proud of his achievement, he descends and goes to the city searching for his younger brother. He finds the brother having a jewelry shop. So he goes in pompously, going to this younger brother and says, okay, what have you done with your life so far? Oh, well, I'm a poor person trying to earn a living and I work here and so on. What have you done, brother? Well, I went to the mountain and spent 25 years working hard. Now I have gained this power through prayer that I can mold metal in any shape or form. I said, oh yes, that's all you have gained? Can you stay in this shop? I'm going to go out for a few minutes and come back. He goes out. A young maiden comes in, lifts her skirt and says, I want a khalkhal for my ankle. For 25 years, this guy hasn't seen a female in front of him. The moment he looks at the ankle, loses the 25 years of prayer. Out he goes. The brother comes in and he says, brother, staying out in a cave where there are no temptations and praying and submitting to the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is nothing. If you can stay in town and these temptations are daily basis and then say astaghfirullah rabbi wa atubu ilayh, then you have done something. If you want to grow, you have to remain facing the temptation and the challenges. Not to turn around and run away from it. Taqwa, this is, فَإِنَّ تَقْوَى اللَّهِ, again, Amir al-Mu'mineen, I strongly recommend go to Nahj al-Balagha and get all these taqwa comments. دَوَاءُ دَاءَ قُلُوبَكُمْ. Certainly fear of Allah, it says, or taqwa or God consciousness, is the medicine for the diseased heart. Sight for the blindness of your spirit. وَبَصَرُ عَمَى أَفْئِدَتِكُمْ. the cure of the ailments of your body, the rectifier of the evils of your breast when you have the heart is no longer functioning properly, the purifier of the pollution of your mind, the light of the darkness of your eyes, the consolation for the fear of your heart, and the brightness of the gloom of your ignorance. See how detailed it is. So what it says, taqwa is a unique way of life. That once you enter into this path, things begin to happen and you begin to change. Life has different meaning. Whether I have wealth or not, it doesn't matter. If you submit yourself to the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whether there are calamities in my life I challenge, I stand fast and face it. I don't shatter to pieces. This morning, somebody called a sister. Well, now I have a son, 22 years old. He has decided not to fast this year. What for? Because going to school is too tough for him while he is fasting. I couldn't believe my ears. People early on in our history, Battle of Badr and Uhud and so on, people were fasting in the heat of Arabian Peninsula, and this young boy in the comfort zone of an air-conditioned car goes out of the house from the garage and goes to an air-conditioned school. Poor soul, he cannot find it easy to fast. We really have a lot to answer. And I said, sister, do you know what he has done? How many days he hasn't fasted? 12, 15, 20 years. I said, for each day he has to fast 60 days. Maulana, can you figure out, do something? I said, I'm not Abu Hurairah. This is the law. For each day you have to fast 60 days, 31 days consecutively. Or if you cannot fast for medical reasons, then you have to pay for each day a certain amount of money. So how much money does he have in the bank? Somebody said, well, I haven't fasted all my life. He went to Maulana and said, Maulana, I haven't fasted any Ramadan. What options do I have to catch up? He said, well, based on the basic calculation, you can either feed the entire Chinese population as that number constitutes, or release the Palestinians from the yoke of the Israelis as freedom, or you pay a huge amount of money. You go to the American bank, the famous American bank, take the money for knock and then give it to the poor and the needy. We have reached a point that we self-prescribe for ourselves. You are woken up in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, by your parents and provided all the food for you, and then you go to sleep just before Adhan, before the sun comes out. You wake up to do quick 2 rakat prayer, and then you go to sleep again, and then only to be woken up a couple of hours later by a remote control. The car, this air conditioning of the car has been turned on, ready for His Royal Highness to go get into the car to go to school. Come on, give me a break. يَمُنُّونَ عَلَيْكَ أَنْ أَسْلَمَ. We think the Almighty God owes us a favor because I have suddenly decided to fast. This is where we learn. Taqwa does not allow you to just self-prescribe and decide willy-nilly that I don't want to fast, I don't want to do this. You stand up, you understand that the effect of it. Inna taqwallah miftahu sidaq. Certainly piety is the key to guidance. Provision for the next world. freedom from all types of slavery. Slavery, the most important one is to be slave of the nafs, the ego. And deliverance from all ruins. How much, what do we have to answer for if we have done all the 60, 70 years and we haven't done anything to show? So these are some of the issues of taqwa. Taqwa, to conclude, is today, again, as Amir al-Mu'mineen says, protects from all kinds of shortcomings. In the day of judgment, it provides us, creates the benefit and the result and the favor that we are expecting from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Before I go for prayer, a couple of questions we raised last night regarding, I don't know whether I wrote the Masahib. I think I need to go to the office and bring it. I collected the entire literary fatwa of the scholars regarding a couple of questions that we had. Regarding fitra and regarding the musafir, those who come as a guest, as well as regarding the issue of fitra al-salat. I thought I brought them together, but if I don't, then just a few minutes, I'll go to the office. Just give me a few seconds. Let me make a couple of points clear regarding taqleed, so before we go in. Taqleed, for those of you who are going to start new, you cannot follow the opinion of a deceased person. So if you have not done any taqleed before, you have to start with the taqleed of the most learned scholar who is alive. You can only remain on the taqleed of a deceased person if you have followed his command or instruction or fatwas during his life, and now that he has passed away, you still think that that person is more learned than any of the present, so you can still stay with their opinion. Now, with regard, first of all, the point of contention that we had last night regarding those who come as a guest. These are the fatwas, and then you choose your own scholar. Anybody that comes to your house with your permission for iftar, even if he or she does not stay, the fitra is on the host's responsibility, not the guest. So if you are inviting somebody and you are still on the fatwa of Ma'ulman, it's your responsibility to pay their fitra, not the guest. So if I come to your house, you are responsible for my fitra if you are following the Ma'ulman. Marhum said says no, unless the person plans to stay, then you have to pay. Otherwise, if the person is simply coming in for iftar with you and then leaving, or even sitting down for late, what he says, لا يشمل من يدعوهم للطعام والسحر عنده ليلة العيد. So if they're coming to stay for iftar a little bit longer and then leave, it remains on their shoulder, not you. Ayatollah Sistani says the same thing. That if they are only just purely coming in for, say, a little bit of food, iftar and so on, and then they are leaving, they are not staying with you, then it remains on their shoulder. Ayatollah Makarim Shirazi, it says that, similar, it says that if somebody comes to your house and doesn't stay, then it is their responsibility. But if they have stayed before or they plan to stay after, it is yours. Safi Gurpaigani says no, it is on the shoulder of the host. So if you invite and you follow him, his point of view, it's Ayatollah Bahjat says the same thing, it is the responsibility of the host. Father Lankarani says no, it remains his responsibility. Tabrizi says if he stays the night, then it is the host's responsibility. If he doesn't stay the night, it's his responsibility. Jafar Subhani says no, it is the guest's responsibility. Wahid Khurasani says that it is the host's responsibility. Nouri Hamadani, it says he creates, this one even goes way beyond everybody else. Nouri Hamadani, even if you invite people and don't invite them inside your house, you organize a function at, let's say, a mosque or a hotel or someone, anyone that you invite for iftar, you are responsible for the fitr. Ayatollah Mazari says no, is not. Ayatollah Khamenei says no. As long as they are not planning to stay, it's not your responsibility. So depends. Ayatollah Khoi says the same thing. Just check his point of view. That إذا لم ينوي البقاء عنده يجب على نفسه. If they are not planning to stay, it's their responsibility, but then he gives an ahwat at the end, which turns the whole thing around. But to be kosher, the host has to pay, even if it might be his responsibility. So, depending on whom you follow. With regard to Sadat, again, two opinions. There are those who say that Sadat, once they collect the fitra, they can give it to their own fitra, they can give it either to Sadat or non-Sadat. There is another one that says no, it has to be given to Sadat only. So it depends on the fatwa of your Muslim regarding the fitra of Sadat and non-Sadat. As far as when to take this money out, they almost all the same thing. Preferred before you come out of the house on the day of Eid. If you forget for any reason, you can do it later, as long as you have a clear intention that this is, I understand, I am responsible for the upkeep of the house, and I have 6 people in my family, I would leave, say, $90, $100, whatever it is, as fitra. That's my intention, and if I did not separate it, I can do it later. There's one question when we have Sadat and non-Sadat within a family. If the husband is Sadat, then even the entire family works with him and the fitriya are given to Sadat. But if the husband is not Sadat, but his wife is from Sadat, because he is paying the fitriya, is not considered to be from Sadat, so it goes for non-Sadat. Because your wife is from Sadat does not make a distinction, because the responsibility is on somebody who pays. If he is from Sadat, then it becomes within the category of Sadat. If not, even if the the wife is from Saudi, or mother, I'm paying on behalf of my mother. My mother is a Sayyida, I cannot take this and put it in the Saudi. I'm paying, so I'm not so. Let's go to the question and see whether there are any questions you can ask. If it doesn't pass deliberately, yeah. Well, it's not closing the door, it's making it clear for them that they have an obligation. Yeah, the person can say, well, I don't accept Islam and I leave it. That's their choice. Yeah. If the person is, you see, from a Sharia or religious point of view, there is a distinction. Al-Jahil al-Qasir, Al-Jahil al-Muqassir. Sometimes the force of circumstance that I live in, I really have no access to any information. And hence, if I do something, if I break something, if I don't follow something, it's not because of a clear intent. It's because knowledge doesn't exist. It's a Jahil al-Qasir. Then this person will be forgiven for the shortcomings that he or she might have. The Jahil al-Muqassir, willfully I put myself in ignorance. Information is available. I don't choose to be informed. Because I don't want to be informed. Then this is a different case. For a person that has done certain things, not fasted or prayed and so on, because he really or she may not have had access to information to understand obligations, etc. That's a totally different story. But for those who have clear obligation, the concept of Tawbah rests on Huquq Allah, Huquq Nas. In the same way that I have, say, taken money from someone, now that I want to repent, it doesn't mean that I shouldn't give that money back to the person that I've taken money from. So, based on the condition whether the information has been available or not, whether they've been in an environment that, as Ali said, that they may have lived in an environment that really information was not available. By name they were Muslim. I've seen few of them around, but they come to the center. Certainly their case is different from the other one, that I willfully neglect my responsibility. So the issue of compensation is for willful neglect. But the person that's not, you literally have to treat him as if somebody coming to Islam knew.
This is not a story about somebody. I'm 34 years old, and he's spending with his wife to buy a house from somebody, and he found so many Christians at the wall. So he asked about this sort of good person, and he said, I remember that in our house there is so many Christians like this. And he found out that he is Muslim, but he doesn't know that he is Muslim or not. So, and he started to learn about the Islam because this.
Yeah. This has to be treated like somebody that comes into Islam. So, yeah. No, it's no. Yeah. Somebody who has not followed Islam, not because willingly and willfully did not want to follow Islam. It's just force of circumstance. It put him in a situation. Yeah, I know. Third generation people that are living in this country, third generation Shia. I have seen during Fatihas, third generation people coming in, bewildered, literally bewildered. They say, Grandpa so-and-so I know was praying, but neither his father or his mother prayed or he himself. So these are totally different concepts.
But maybe for the answer, because nobody relatives answer.
That's their opinion. You see, Hajj, there is a problem that there's a story, I have to mention it to you, and then you understand where the logic. Both Ayatollah Khoy and Ayatollah Hakim, I was a child in Iraq when I met them, and on a regular basis I used to receive so-called presents from Ayatollah Hakim during Eid, and Ayatollah Khoy as well. So I would go, because my uncle, my family, they were all close associates, so we go on the day of Eid, and they would give us Eid. They both were of the opinion that Ahlul Kitab are najis. Ahlul Kitab are najis. That was their opinion. The people of the book, there is no purity in them. So if you touch their body or whatever, it becomes najis. They came for medical treatment, they went to London. Ayatollah Khoy had I believe his stomach, or Ayatollah Hakim had his eyes. And the Shia community over there went literally after their throat. And they said, hang on a minute, you come and tell us Islam is supposed to be a religion of ease? Your fatwa is making our life hell. Because as soon as I come out of the house, anything that I touch becomes najis. I hold a rail into a bus, it's najis. I go and I'll get something from somebody who pays me my money back, it's najis. At school it's najis, at work it's najis. So what am I supposed to do? When they went back, once they saw the reality of their fatwa, most of these fatwas are done in the security of a cocoon that they create for themselves back, whatever it is. Once they come over here and face the music, then they see that it's a totally different world. When you live outside and you understand how ordinary people have to suffer as a consequence of these fatwas, then it has to be changed. Yes, sir. And then we come to you. Yeah. How does taqwa help? Well, if you consider, we have to first begin with what we call a working definition of what productive is. Taqwa, if we define it in the positive way, that you have to do your utmost in every department of your life, in every aspect of your life. You do your best, then that helps productivity. If you are, say, student, then taqwa helps you not to be distracted, to focus on your studying, because now you think about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the partner in your life. You don't waste your time, you don't wander around. If in the matter of prayer and so on and religious responsibility, again, to stand and be productive means to do your best, whatever you can. You don't cut corners, etc. So the interpretation that says you can avoid all these temptations and find a quiet corner somewhere and hide, that's the one that unfortunately removes productivity. Otherwise, the one that says, no, be active. Stay in life. Act as a true member of the society. Don't leave your responsibility. As a productive member, you have a social responsibility. When you see a poor person, help. When you see somebody doing bad things, stand and say this is not acceptable. When you see somebody doing good things, encourage them. These are part of various productivity in different departments when you choose to do so. Zakat al-Fitra is zakat obligated, that we, as part of the process of helping the poor that we have done during the month, this is a unique zakat that obligates us to even do further. If you look at the text on zakat al-Fitra, it says it purifies your fast. Even whatever work that you have done during the month, this zakat further enhances or purifies your fast. Well, because tomorrow you're going to celebrate the end of it. As part of the end of the month of Ramadan, you're going to celebrate it to be extra conscious of purification of the soul. What is Eid? The typical or topical understanding of it is that it's a day of celebration finished. Month of Ramadan is finished and we are going to celebrate the end of it. No. Eid is a day, Amir al-Mu'mineen Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, it's a day in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not sinned and disobeyed. فَكُلُّ يَوْمٍ لَا يُعْصَى اللَّهُ فِيهِ فَهُوَ يَوْمَ عِيدٍ. It's a huge responsibility. So, an added duty that we have, the night before Eid, we use the money to further purify the fasting, so that in preparation that the next day we really feel that we are entering into the day of Eid, hopefully our sins are forgiven. And we make a commitment. There is another hadith that says, hopefully that by the day of Eid you make a commitment to continue with what you have achieved during this period of time. This, call it a regime or a process of control, soul control. Yeah.
Follow-up question. Now my family, they departed before time. Does that mean that they have to pay?
No, you have to pay for it, even if they are not around. Because your family that you are responsible for their upkeep, it's your responsibility. The debate is when somebody comes to the house, which it is not normally your responsibility. How should we deal with which are the guests?
I'm sorry.
Yes, okay.
My mother-in-law was with me for over almost the whole month for the last week.
Who is responsible for her upkeep? If she's responsible for herself, then it's not your responsibility. The frame of reference is that the person who is responsible for the upkeep, the family is your responsibility. If within that family falls your parents, then you are responsible for them. If it happened to be your in-laws, again you are responsible. If they are technically considered to be your responsibility, they live with you and you pay for their upkeep, then it is your responsibility. If they are living independently and they come to your house just for Laylatul Eid for iftar, then we are coming into a different category as a guest and what my marja says vis-a-vis one or the other. Now that's a different story. If they stay during the last stay for a period 3 or 4 days before, and now somebody else is paying for them for their upkeep, then it becomes their responsibility. So if you send your family out to your in-laws, and just 3 days before the month before the Eid, and for 2 days after, the in-laws have to pay for the fitrah unless you are certain that they are not going to pay. Then it remains your responsibility. You can send them to mother-in-laws and then 2 or 3 days in advance, not have your responsibility for that. Yes? And what? It's a zakat. It is type of zakat, monetary zakat that you pay as a purification of your fast. In your case, since you are responsible for your own upkeep, or is it parents responsible? The parents, then they have to pay. They count the number of family members within the household, and minimum of $10 for each head. Sisters, was there something? Oh, you're preparing the question for tomorrow. Okay, sure. So, go ahead. That's fine, we have still. Okay? But remember, to wrap up, if you are a member of a household and they are responsible for your upkeep, they have to pay the fee. If you are a member of your household, as a student, you are responsible for your own upkeep, then you are responsible for it. If you are responsible for the upkeep of a family, and then you send them somewhere else, or they travel somewhere else, 2 or 3 days before Eid al-Fitr, and stay there for 1 or 2 days after, somebody else is paying for their upkeep, then they are responsible for the fatriyah that they have to pay. Unless, go ahead. Well, it's twice the month of Ramadan. To remind you that it is so grave, the sin, that now each day that you have broken is twice the month of Ramadan. It's equivalent. There are ways of, others who cannot make the fasting, there are ways of compensation, and the compensation is for every day that somebody breaks it, we have to fast instead of 60 days, you feed 60 poor family. And average for a day these days, they say for $5, so you have to spend $300 every day to compensate for it. So there are ways of dealing with it if somebody is unable to do it, but and the 60 days, 31 days of it are supposed to be consecutive, one after the other, and the other 29 days you can separate. He doesn't need to fast. I don't think, if the doctor says that he shouldn't fast, I don't think he should fast. That's fine. But generally speaking, what does the physician say regarding his fasting? They say, okay? No, under normal condition. He can? Okay, that's fine. If they say that it's not going to harm him, then it's fine. And during the procedures, it's an exceptional circumstance that you have the exceptional rules. Until the physician tells you that you can go back. It's like menstrual cycle or like traveling or anything else. There are exceptions to it because of the stressful condition that somebody is in. So you make an exception. Well, thank you very much. Inshallah, we'll meet again tomorrow.
Assalamu alaikum. This concludes the program tonight. Thanks to our Imam for the great enlightenment, and thanks for everyone for attending.
Yes.